Ross came in and we were having a laugh and he said, "This doesn't do much for your libido, does it?" Devastated. We expected them to cut back our budget massively, but we didn't expect them to pull out, so it was genuinely a huge shock. We had no idea how good it would be. We had set ourselves up that we wanted to be in the top 3 in the 2009 season. It was the first Ross Brawn designed car, but once Honda pulled out, we thought, well, if we can get in the top half, we'll be doing lucky. So we had no idea until we got to the first tests and kapow. No. The guy who came up with the double diffuser, I think until the book comes out, has not been named. He is or was at that time, a junior Honda aerodynamicist. This Japanese gentleman, explained in fairly kind of halting English his idea. Everyone's immediate reaction is, you can't do that. And I think the big advantage he had is that he was reading the rules as they were written in a second language, and his literal interpretation clearly turned out to be, the right interpretation, but by the book, and in fact you can see a picture of him too. Hiring Michael was in some ways the pinnacle and also a disappointment, not because of what happened to him physically, but that we didn't win with Michael. And when you're going through something like the 2009 year, which in many ways was very traumatic and very demanding, you don't have time to take things in, you don't have time to take in the magnitude of what's going on. The true moments came for me when you really kind of realise that you've achieved something is, when Michael first drove the car at the beginning of the following year. In Formula One you count down the car's arrival in the pits, and Ron said over the radio, Michael Schumacher 30 seconds, and at that point, it was really, wow, we've made it. And Michael had, and probably still has, a magnetism around him which is truly outstanding. I mean, he's really kind of a prince among sports people, and just to be in the same room, was an amazing experience. I think Michael was the incarnation of, we've really made it, and we've hit the big time, and I wish we could have won with him. Sadly, the Honda engine wasn't good enough. In terms of our improvement from 2008 to 2009, 50% probably can be attributed to the double diffuser and 50% to the engine. But sadly, going from the Honda engine to the Mercedes engine was a big step up, and in reality, harsh though this might be, we probably went from the worst engine in the field to the best engine in the field overnight, and I don't think we'd have been able to achieve the World Championship with the Honda engine, sadly. I kind of liked the fact that it was us. I remember a meeting at the Renault headquarters to discuss the sort of future of Formula One at that stage, and Christian and Flavio and others, behind the scenes were just laughing and joking that we were going to have won the championship by the summer shutdown, which didn't turn out to be the case. The real signifier that we had a lot of support was, you might remember at the first Grand Prix, when Jenson and Rubens came back down the pit lane, every team was outside their garage applauding the 2 drivers. They realised that what we'd gone through, and I think that from time to time they may have been a bit pissed off with what we did. I think on balance they went along with the fairy story, and I think it was a story that was good for Formula One and still endures. If I had to pick one, it would be Monaco. Not just because of the race, which frankly I didn't see much of because I was so goddamn tired after dealing with sponsors and everything that had gone before. After we got around the first corner, I'm sorry to say that I fell asleep over my computer in the control centre, and was woken up by Nicola Armstrong, the PR girl, saying, "You've got to get up and go get the trophy." So I can't actually say I saw much of the race. During the process we had ups and downs that you would not believe. I mean, one morning, you know, Ross came in and we were having a laugh and he said, "This doesn't do much for your libido, does it?" You know, he was right. It was massive highs where, you know, we thought that we were on the right trail, to massive lows where we thought, you know, there isn't going to be a future. And it was really a matter of trying to just bash on through and work on a day-by-day basis. I think being decisive is a huge attribute of entrepreneurs. And Bernie is also incredibly scary to deal with, and that Bernie, if you're doing a deal with Bernie, he will have worked out, you know, what your worst fear is, and within a minute of starting a meeting, he will have taken you to the edge of the precipice, and there's no messing about. You know, that bravery, that decision-making ability is something which distinguishes people like Bernie from the rest of us, frankly. The team actually at one stage was going to be called Pure Racing. Mercedes, who were providing the engine, didn't like that because they felt that a pure racing Mercedes made us the works team, as opposed to McLaren, who were clearly the works team at the time. So Pure Racing was a hot name at one stage, and in fact, again, it was another team member that suggested Brawn. You know, it wasn't from Ross, who wouldn't be as big-headed enough to do that. But Caroline McGrory, who was the lawyer, said, you know, why don't we just call it Brawn? And you know, Ross's heritage in Formula One gave it great credibility. And again, it was one of those things that we were so busy firefighting that we didn't have a lot of time to sort of analyse this. So when Mercedes said, we don't want you to use Pure, and then Caroline said, well, let's go with Brawn, and that's what we did. The colour scheme on the car was selected by the marketing manager at the time, who's a guy called Bastien Hibben. It really wasn't based on much more than we needed something that would make us stand out from the rest of the field. And if you look at the pictures, you know, from that era, our car really sort of jumps out of the screen at you. It was one person's idea, and Bastien brought the idea to Ross and I, and we just said, you know, let's go with that.